South Africa, wake up. We're talking about a country on its knees, crippled by crime, corruption, and an ANC government that's been fleecing South Africans for decades while pretending to care. But here's the spark in the darkness. A man named Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, a cop with the guts to stand up and call out the rot at the top. And guess what? The people are rallying. There's a national march for Mkhwanazi brewing. #HandsOff Mkhwanazi set for next week in Durban and across the entire country, and it's time we all got off our couches and joined the fight. This isn't just a march, it's a bloody uprising against a system that's been laughing in our faces for too long. So grab a strong coffee, settle in, and let's unpack this disaster. Because if we don't act now, who will? Let's start with the man of the hour, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, who's basically thrown a Molotov cocktail into the ANC's cozy little corruption party. On July 6, 2025, this bloke stood up in Durban, flanked by his deputies and tactical teams, and dropped bombshells that have the whole country buzzing. He didn't just whisper about corruption, he spoke it out, accusing Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya of being in bed with criminal syndicates. Yeah, you heard that right. Our own police minister, the guy meant to protect us, allegedly hobnobbing with drug lords and political killers. Mkhwanazi laid it all bare. WhatsApp messages, financial transactions, and classified police documents leaked to dodgy businessmen. He's got receipts, and they're damning. One message from a guy named Brown Mogotsi, Mchunu's so-called comrade, bragged about dissolving a task team that was getting too close to the truth. Can you believe the nerve? So, what's the vibe on the ground? South Africans are livid, and they're not staying quiet. Posts on social media are buzzing with support for Mkhwanazi, with people calling him a hero for standing up to the ANC's rot. There's talk of a massive march in Durban, probably on July 15, 2025, to back him up. And let's be real, some are whispering about a July riots round 2 if the government tries to silence him. Remember the July 2021 riots? Now, let's pause for a sec, because this isn't just about one cop or one minister. It's about a government that's been milking us dry while crime skyrockets. The ANC's been at it for years. Remember Jackie Celebi, the Interpol boss who was mates with a drug dealer? Or the Pala Pala scandal with Ramaphosa's dollars in the sofa? This is a pattern, brew, and we're the ones paying the price. So, what do you reckon? Is this the moment we finally say, enough is enough? Drop a comment below and let me know, because we need to keep this fire burning. And don't get me started on the state of our police. Crime intelligence is a joke. Funds stolen, informers unpaid, and honest cops sidelined. Mkhwanazi's own security's been beefed up because he's got a target on his back now. National Commissioner Fanny Masamola's backing him, saying he's within his rights to speak out. But how long before the ANC leans on him too? The DA's calling for lifestyle audits and a commission of inquiry, and they're not wrong. If we don't root out this rot, we're done for. South Africa's not just fighting crime, it's fighting a system that protects criminals. So, here's the deal. The National March for Mkhwanazi is our chance to show we're not taking this lying down. It's not just about one man, it's about every South African who's sick of living in fear. Whether you're in Durban, Jozi, or Cape Town, black, white, Indian, coloured, rich, poor, this is our fight. Mkhwanazi's put his life on the line to expose the truth. Are we going to let him stand alone? Imagine the message it'll send if thousands of us hit the streets, demanding justice, demanding a police force that actually works for us. Picture the ANC squirming when they see we're not buying their nonsense anymore. Who's with me? If you're in, share this video, spread the word, and let's make some noise. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't just about one march. The ANC's been running this country into the ground for 30 years. Unemployment's through the roof, the economy's flatlined, and corruption's so baked into the system it's practically a national sport. The DA's warned that the government of national unity could collapse if Ramaphosa doesn't act, and honestly, maybe that's what we need. A proper shake-up. Because this half-assed national dialogue Ramaphosa's pushing, it's just another talk shop to keep the ANC in power while they loot what's left. Here's a question for you. When did we decide it's okay for our leaders to treat us like idiots? When did we accept that 70 murders a day is just how it is? Mkhwanazi's shown us there are still people willing to fight for what's right. He's not asking for fame or a pat on the back. He's risking everything to protect us. So, why are we still sitting here, moaning on social media instead of doing something? The march is next week, and it's a chance to show the ANC we're not their doormat. Get involved, organize, spread the word. Let's make Durban shake. As we wrap this up, let's talk real for a second. This channel's all about cutting through the noise and telling it like it is.
And I can confirm before the South Africans today that the investigation which these members were involved with in Gauteng has unmasked the syndicate. And this syndicate involves, amongst others, politicians who are currently serving in parliament. At this present moment, the war that we are facing is so serious that it deals with high-level senior officers within the criminal justice system. Therefore, it is important for us to go into a combat mode. It is important for me to make sure that I take on the enemy directly. I, fortunately, am a citizen in this country. My families are spread across different provinces. So it is my duty and the fellow police officers to protect them. So I'm not going to surrender their freedom. I'm not going to surrender their safety to anyone. So I will die for this badge. I will die for them. So I will fight this fight until the end. And I can confirm before the South Africans today that the investigation which these members were involved with in Gauteng has unmasked the syndicate. And this syndicate involves, amongst others, politicians who are currently serving in parliament. The law enforcement officers include the members of the South African Police Service, the Metro Police, and correctional services. They include prosecutors in Gauteng province, the judiciary, and all these are controlled by the drug cartel as well as business people in that province of Gauteng. This act, of course, undermines the criminal justice system in this country.
General Mkhwanazi just opened a criminal investigation into the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, alleging that, the Minister of Police has been stopping and quashing investigations into political killings. I know that it's Sunday. I know that you're tired. I know that you just want to rest. But this is an absolutely massive, potentially terrifying development amidst so many, frankly, batshit things that have been happening in South Africa amongst our security forces in the last 3 weeks. So settle down, brother. Let's talk about this. Senzo Mchunu is the Minister of Police. And General Mkhwanazi, Police Commissioner in KZN, claimed earlier today that Mchunu is working to end the Political Killings Task Team in KZN. It's a special force within the KZN SAPS that investigates who has been doing political killings of politically connected and involved people. Mkhwanazi claims that Mchunu is trying to stop the task team from doing its work because it helped the Gauteng Political Killings Task Team get to the bottom of a cartel's work to take out politically connected people who were working contrary to their interests. And Mkhwanazi claims that Mchunu is politically interfering to disband the task team on behalf of a syndicate that includes politicians, law enforcement, SAPS, correctional services, even the judiciary, judges, on behalf of the interests of a drug cartel and significant business people. Mkhwanazi claims to have evidence linking, again, Minister of Police Mchunu with controversial figures like Brian Mkhwanazi and Kat Matlala, who is currently under a serious cloud of allegations connecting him to criminal activity. Mkhwanazi also claims that earlier this year, in March, Shadrach Sabir, who is the Deputy National Commissioner on Crime Detection, took away 121 case dockets from the KZN Political Killings Task Team, allegedly on the orders of Mkhunu. Now, whether or not he's telling the truth, whether or not his evidence checks out, whether or not Mkhunu is a bad guy, this is so scary because it is basically open civil warfare between SAPS and the police minister and different parts of SAPS pertaining to some of the most powerful, scary, dangerous people in South Africa and the forces who are supposed to be stopping them. And when I tell you that that is only one of at least 4 stories we need to be watching right now, Fani Masemola, National Police Commissioner, might be about to be arrested over the irregular purchasing of buildings. Police Crime Intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo has just been arrested on allegations of corruption. And 12 SANDF Special Forces members, elite soldiers, have been arrested for a raft of potential crimes, including the assassination of one of the Hawks' top detectives, Frans Matipa. And all of this happening at the same time?
Yeah, well, the safety of South Africans is in jeopardy. At least Mkhwanazi still has a firearm. He still has a men and women that he works with. He can still somehow protect himself. There are men and women out there that are vulnerable. They've got no one to protect. So we can't be worried about our own safety. We must worry about the safety of the citizens. So ours is to go out there and lay our life to protect them. That is my only concern right now. Not about my safety. You know, everyone shall die. The time will come. If it comes, it comes. But if an enemy comes to you, attack the enemy. Don't allow the enemy to take advantage. You can't just lie with your arms in your hands like that. You have to fight.
Thank you, PC. I cannot, there are no words that I can use to describe how I feel. I feel vindicated for the SAPS, and this should be send a very, very strong message to anybody that wants to still be on the wrong side of the law, that nothing and no one will deter us from doing what the Constitution has mandated us to do. So I'm going back with a good spirit to my district, PC, and I also pray that the community of Dundee and Glencoe, as well as the judiciary and the police, will realize today that the curse that they've been living with for more than 20 years has been cut today. I really want to thank the investigation team. Colonel Engelbrecht is on pension, but God has made sure before he goes on pension, he puts a very powerful case together, as well as the prosecution team, Advocate Schutter. And I'll never forget the day Colonel Engelbrecht came. He reminded me of Eysterswart from the Vierde Cabinet. So, good people, yes, after all said and done, I was a very big crybaby in the beginning because it was foreign for me to deal with a situation like that. And I would phone my provincial commissioner, General Mkhwanazi, and he would actually tell me that you remember, General, under your command, there is those policemen that are facing a burnout every day. At least you are in a good position because you have identified all those that are trying to harm you. So get yourself together and wipe those tears and fight for your life and fight for justice. And I want to say, General Mkhwanazi, every time General Mkhwanazi called, I had a new spirit to carry on fighting. Nobody will understand what it is to have a leader like General Mkhwanazi. And I can tell you that these people have written degrading letters to the general, to the national commissioner, to the minister, degrading me to the last. But General Mkhwanazi did not hide away. He investigated and all was baseless. So I want to say to you that this provincial commissioner of ours, he does not fear or favor. He directs us in the right way. And remember, if you go through this organization and you have never faced any challenges, you were never part of this organization. You were part of those that just went with the flow. Yes, I'm not saying that I'm not bruised, but I'm saying we are vindicated as a SAPS today. And I'm saying that, General, you have prepared me a good few years for what I had to face. You know, it's not, I hope one day you can just put that task force badge a little bit here on my shoulders, because, you know, that skills you have given me. And I have actually become a Punuga Pampete. So I want to say thank you. Thank you so much to my family that have been supporting me, and my friend whose birthday is today, Norman Kleinans. Thank you, my children, and thank you to the SAPS, and thank you to the media, and thank you to my provincial commissioner. Thank you to the judiciary. We must believe. My general told me in the beginning, October 2023, he said to me, General Slambert, trust the system. From General Mkhwanazi's mouth, trust the system. And that is what I have done, to trust the system. And the system has showed today that, yes, justice can be served. It may be delayed a little, but it will be served. I want to thank my lawyer, Mr. Pariachi. He has been working and fighting with me since 2023 in Dundee against this Panau and his cronies. Thank you very much for today and for being here, General. It means so much to me. And General, I also want to say it's the first time today I've been attending court from last year. The first time that I see so many people here today. So you are the attraction here today. Thank you so much, General. From me and my family, General, we appreciate you, General. And maybe you did not know it, General, but I took too much of your strength over these years, General, because I knew with that strength that I have from you, you know, when drawing out, I think sometimes you must have feel tired at night.
Long before his name would echo in parliamentary hearings and anti-corruption protests, Vusimuzi Kat Matlala was already well versed in the language of violence and shadow deals. His criminal journey began in the early 2000s, where whispers in the townships of Gauteng placed him at the center of a series of cash-in-transit heists and house robberies. He was quick, elusive, and brutal, earning the nickname Cat for his ability to vanish and strike without warning. Amidst institutional weaknesses and a rising organized crime ecosystem, Matlala was building his network, brick by bloody brick. He knew the value of loyalty, fear, and most of all, connections. But it was a meeting years later that would turn his story from gangster to government-linked kingpin. That man was Hangwani Morgan Maumala, a politically connected businessman with ties to procurement offices across Gauteng, especially Tembisa Hospital. Actually, he is the niece of Cyril Ramaphosa from the previous marriage. Together, they forged a deadly alliance, one that would span ghost companies, corrupted public officials, and a healthcare looting spree that would eventually claim lives, including one of South Africa's bravest whistleblowers. By the late 2010 ES, Mamela and Vusi had perfected a strategy to loot from the public purse, particularly from the already strained health sector. Using a sophisticated network of over 200 front companies, many of which were registered under associates, lovers or employees, they rigged the RFQ, request for quotation system. They'd submit quotes from multiple controlled entities to guarantee one of their companies would win. One notorious transaction revealed by investigative journalists showed just how inflated these deals were. A basic medical supply costing 3.20 per rand unit was billed to Tembisa Hospital at 152 rand per unit. One order involving 8,000 units should have cost just 25,600 rand, but was instead billed at over 1.2 million rand, a markup of over 4,500%. Their scheme funded a lifestyle that shocked even the country's elite. Vusi and Mamela purchased homes in Sandhurst and Camps Bay, two of South Africa's most expensive neighborhoods. They drove 4 million rand luxury vehicles, flew in private jets, and hosted parties where money rained like confetti. But their reign of theft was not going unnoticed. In 2021, a courageous woman named Babita Deokaran, acting as the Chief Director of Financial Accounting at the Gauteng Department of Health, noticed irregularities in Tembisa Hospital's procurement books. Suspicious of the massive payouts going to obscure companies, including those tied to Mamela and allegedly Vusi, she ordered 70 million rand in payments to be frozen. I made a video about this months ago. You can watch it at the end of this video. On the morning of the 23rd of August 2021, Babita was shot multiple times outside her home in Mondeor, Johannesburg. The assassins fled, leaving behind a nation shocked by the execution of a civil servant who had merely done her job. Several suspects were arrested, and links to Mamela emerged almost immediately. Although no official indictment named Vusi, rumors among police insiders and local journalists painted a damning picture. Not long after Babita's death, the public started hearing about Vusi's other life, one far darker than his tender schemes. In late 2021, Vusi allegedly shot and killed his best friend Kosi in Mamelodi, reportedly over a debt that Matlala refused to pay. This murder, though never officially connected to Vusi, became folklore in Pretoria's underworld, where friends turned enemies ended up in coffins, not courtrooms. The death of Kosi marked a shift. Vusi was no longer just a fraudster cloaked in Versace and armed with spreadsheets. He was now a man feared by other criminals, a kingpin with a kill list. By 2023, Vusi Cat had transcended his criminal roots. He was now a businessman, a philanthropist, even a rumored advisor to high-ranking police officials. He had also become romantically entangled with multiple women, including Cordelia Kabeng, a young woman from a poor background whom he pampered with private jet trips and blue light convoys, and later with the actress Tebogo Tobajan. But behind the lavish Instagram stories and red carpet events, the blood trail never stopped. In August 2022, Vusi allegedly attempted to assassinate Joe Sibagnoni, known in the underworld as Joe Ferrari. Joe survived, but the attempt marked Vusi's public entrance into the domain of contract killings, an identity he would soon embrace. Behind the curtain, Vusi was also allegedly doing business with the infamous Jonathan Mkhwanazi Masibi, a feared criminal overlord with reach across Gauteng and Mpumalanga. Upon Mkhwanazi's death, Vusi was rumored to have taken up the mantle South Africa's new John Wick, feared not just by rivals, but also by state officials who were said to protect him. It is around this time that Vusi began courting influence at the highest levels of the South African police service. Photos emerged of him gifting a black Mercedes-Benz to Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, head of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. Others claimed he had high-ranking protection from generals, commissioners, and even cabinet ministers. In November 2024, law enforcement agencies, including the Hawks, SAPS, and SARS, raided Durban businesswoman Shaun Kaiser's La Lucia mansion and seized over 40 firearms. At the time, Miss McKaiser publicly denied any involvement. However, Ian Cameron, chair of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Police, later disclosed that the weapons in question were registered to CAT VIP Protection, a private security firm owned by Vusumuzi Kat Matlala. If ordinary citizens illegally stored firearms at an unregistered premise, not fit for firearm storage, they would face criminal charges and have their weapons confiscated. Yet in this case, all seized guns were returned to the security company, and nearly 2 months later, parliamentary questions remain unanswered. This raises questions about regulatory oversight, potential impunity, and political influence, shielding a company under serious suspicion.
No, it was quite interesting. It was Monday during a press briefing when I said that I mentioned the wrong Vusimusi in terms of firearms that were illegally stored at one of her properties. They were illegally stored. They were not meant to be there. I just by mistake said the wrong Vusimusi. So I said Vusimusi Matlala instead of Vusimusi Kaba, and that's that. The point is there were severe irregularities, transgression of both the NESARA regulations in terms of private security regulations and also the Firearm Controls Act.
By early 2024, Vusimuzi Kat Matlala had evolved from a shadowy tenderpreneur into a name whispered in fear across Gauteng's criminal and political landscape. He was no longer merely stealing from the state, he was executing power plays with bullets, and the line between boardroom and battlefield had all but vanished. His transition from fraudster to feared assassin was now undeniable. The money had elevated him to society's upper crust, but what truly cemented his authority was a string of brutal hits, each one more audacious than the last. In late 2022, South Africa woke up to shocking news. DJ Somebody, the popular Amapiano star and entrepreneur, had been shot dead in a hail of bullets in Johannesburg. The murder sent tremors across the entertainment industry, but underneath the mourning and tributes, a darker narrative was forming. Whispers began to circulate that DJ Somebody had close ties with a controversial figure in Gauteng's underworld, Joe Sibanyoni, better known as Joe Ferrari. Months earlier, in August 2022, Joe had survived an attempted assassination at the Centurion Golf Estate gates, an attempt allegedly orchestrated by Vusi in what many believed was his final test to prove himself to the late Mkhwanazi Mzibi. DJ Somebody's crime? Loyalty to Ferrari. According to underworld chatter and leaked WhatsApp voice notes, Matlala was growing paranoid. Anyone connected to Ferrari was seen as a threat. Somebody's murder was said to be a strategic hit, eliminating an ally of a rival and sending a brutal message to the Pretoria underworld. In a grotesque display of arrogance and psychological warfare, Matlala and his wife, Tsakani TK Baloyi, attended DJ Somebody's funeral. They arrived with multiple bodyguards, dressed in black designer suits, flanked by men in dark sunglasses. The next body fell in early 2024. Alf Rams, once a close associate and friend of Kat, made the fatal mistake of asking for what was his, 2 million rand, money he had lent to Matlala months prior. Alf was a known face in Mamelodi's nightlife and a minor player in local tender businesses. He believed his closeness to Kat offered him protection. He was wrong. In February 2024, Alf was found dead in his car, shot execution style in Pretoria East. No valuables were stolen, no arrests were made. But insiders knew it was a message. Loyalty to Kat meant silence. Asking questions even about your own money was treason. But Matlala's ambitions weren't just personal, they were territorial. In Mamelodi, the township was dominated by a gang known as Boko Haram, a violent extortion group that controlled protection rackets, drug routes, and housing developments. At the time, the group was led by Zoro, a charismatic yet ruthless figure respected by both the streets and elements within local law enforcement. Vusi, looking to expand his empire, allegedly began infiltrating Boko Haram in mid-2023. His strategy? Divide and conquer. He built relationships with discontented lieutenants, killed 5 senior Boko Haram members, and used their deaths to ignite internal chaos. Suspicion grew, factions formed, and then, in late 2023, the unthinkable happened. Zoro was assassinated. Sources claim that Kat ordered the hit personally. The bullet that tore through Zoro was the death knell of Boko Haram's old guard. Within days, Matlala had absorbed the gang, rebranded it, and placed himself at the head. He wasn't just a criminal anymore, he was a warlord. His command of Boko Haram gave him access to extortion networks in Mamelodi and Ekurhuleni, informants inside the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, arms and drug routes reaching Mpumalanga and Limpopo. And with the gang now under his thumb, Kat began wearing the title whispered in hushed tones across townships, the John Wick of Mamelodi. I once made a video about this, you can watch it at the end of this video. Vusi's rise was not powered by strategy alone. His partner, Tsakani TK Baloyi, began to play a disturbing role in this empire of blood. Initially introduced to Vusi by actress Tebogo Tobajan, TK had become his confidant, lover, and alleged co-conspirator. Consumed by obsession and jealousy, TK allegedly asked Vusi to kill Tebogo Tobajan. By early 2025, Vusimuzi Kat Matlala was no longer just a feared gangster or a tender tycoon. He had become a national security threat, protected not just by his own ruthlessness, but by powerful individuals in government and law enforcement. His reach was no longer confined to township alleys or hospital corridors. It extended all the way into Parliament, SAP's headquarters, and even the office of the police minister. The collapse of justice was no accident. It was bought, one bribe, one promotion, one assassination at a time. In June 2024, a bombshell tender was awarded by the South African Police Service, SAPS, a contract valued at 360 million rand for health services across several police districts. The winning bidder, Medicare 24 Swine District, a company linked directly to Vusimuzi Matlala, despite being under investigation for procurement fraud at Tembisa Hospital tax evasion, possible links to the murder of Babita Deokaran, attempted murder charges involving Tebogo Tobajan. Vusi's company still received the contract. By December 2024, SAPS had already paid out 50 million rand of the contract's value. It wasn't until April 2025, following internal audits and external pressure, that the contract was cancelled due to fraud, fronting, and misrepresentation. But by then, the money was gone. In July 2025, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Mkhwanazi broke ranks and delivered an explosive public statement. In front of media cameras and legal observers, Mkhwanazi accused Police Minister Senzo Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia, a known Vusi associate named Brown Magotsi, of orchestrating the disbanding of a critical SAPS task team, the Political Killings Task Team, to shield Vusi from arrest and preserve his SAPS contract. Mkhwanazi presented evidence taken from Matlala's own WhatsApp messages exposing a meeting arranged between Senzo and Sibia by Brown, instructions sent to SAPS officers to dissolve the task team investigating Vusi, a follow-up message confirming, as we speak they are bringing all the dockets to Sibia. Days later, a payment of 111,000 rand was made from Matlala's Medicare 24 account to an account allegedly controlled by Magotsi. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just bribery. It was state capture, executed in real time.
The evidence has been found in the cell phone of Mr. Vusimuzi, also known as Kat Matlala, which shows the communication between Mr. Brown Magotsi and the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi. As I said, this was the beginning of the closure of the political task team. I'll try to outline some sequence of events. I had said the team left for Gauteng to go and assist organized crime in Gauteng. There was a shooting incident that had occurred in April 2024, where Mr. Swart, a QTech employee, was fatally shot while entering the company premises. QTech has been a long-standing service provider to Transnet. Shortly after the incident, 3 suspects, including a warrant officer, a South African Police Service warrant officer, a detective Dau Pule, were arrested in Johannesburg. During the arrest, weapons that were used in this murder, which was an AK-47 and a pistol, along with cell phones, were confiscated. So they conducted a ballistic test in order to check whether these firearms were linked with that murder and many other murders perhaps that will have occurred in the country. On the 30th December 2024, the ballistic expert issued a ballistic report which linked these firearms not only with the murder of Mr. Swart, but these firearms were linked with a number of high-profile cases. And these cases include very high-profile South African artists that were murdered in Gauteng, which occurred dating back as far as 2021. I'm not going to mention them, but we have them on record.
Although he had been replaced as Minister of Police in 2024, Becky's name soon entered the spotlight again. A July 2025 investigation by News 24 revealed that Becky had stayed twice in Matlala's private luxury penthouse at the capital in Menlyn Main, Pretoria, during January 2025. The penthouse was leased in Vusi's name until April 2025. Around the same time, the 50 million rand SAPS contract payout was underway. Becky claimed that he didn't know Vusi personally and said there was nothing untoward about the stay. But critics weren't convinced. Was this simply a case of a generous acquaintance? Or was it another example of Vusi buying silence, access and protection? Among the most chilling indicators of Vusi's impunity was his brazen gifting of luxury vehicles to top-ranking officers. Photos circulated of Brigadier Julius Mkhwanazi, head of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, receiving a black Mercedes-Benz, a gift from Matlala himself. According to insiders, the car was a reward for keeping operations quiet in Kempton Park and Mamelodi, both hotspots for extortion and gang activity. In return, Vusi's vehicles were never stopped. His convoys, often with blue lights, moved through red zones without resistance. He hosted private parties where officers were hired as bodyguards, dressed in official gear. Police uniforms were no longer symbols of law, they were symbols of loyalty to CAT. By July 2025, the story was too big to ignore. President Cyril Ramaphosa, speaking from Brazil, called Mkhwanazi's allegations a matter of grave national security. Opposition parties demanded a judicial commission of inquiry into SAPS procurement and political interference, the suspension of Police Minister Senzo and Deputy Commissioner Sibia, full disclosure of payments made to Medicare 24, protection for whistleblowers like Mkhwanazi, whose life is now at risk. In the aftermath of the Babita Deokaran assassination and the exposure of 1 billion rand in suspicious transactions tied to the Tembisa hospital, pressure began mounting on Vusi and his co-conspirators, most notably Hangwani Morgan Mamela. Sources within Gauteng Health Administration began leaking more files. Journalists were circling again. Civil society groups were threatening legal action to reopen frozen investigations that had mysteriously disappeared from SAPS and SIU databases. Then in early 2025, a fire broke out at Tembisa Hospital. Entire floors of archived procurement data and financial records were reduced to ash. SAPS initially cited an electrical fault, but internal whistleblowers and security personnel who spoke anonymously to journalists alleged otherwise. The fire wasn't random, it was strategic. They took the 3 RD floor archive rooms first. The Office of the Public Protector opened an investigation in February 2025, but found itself stonewalled by missing access logs and deleted internal communications.
And General Mkhwanazi dropped a nuclear bomb on South African politics. He suggested that the highest reaches of the South African police as well as government have been infiltrated by a criminal syndicate, which is influencing decisions on appointments and, indeed, the political future of this country. The effect of what he said is the following. He proposed that there is a criminal syndicate linked to the drug trade, which has penetrated the South African government and which has influenced senior politicians, including the Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu. Furthermore, a political unit, or a police unit rather, the Political Killings Task Team, which was a unit established inside the police by President Ramaphosa in 2018, was disbanded because it was getting deeper into unraveling the syndicate. So let's take a step back. What Mkhwanazi was saying is that they found this group of people who are controlling a lot of things in South Africa through illegal means. And because they found that, and because that touches on certain political interests, the politicians decided that the unit which found this information should be shut down. It's a massive revelation because it not only implicates senior politicians and indeed the GNU government and its executive, but also law enforcement, which is supposed to be the entity which protects us from crime. And then also in some ways connects some dots about how criminality and politics have come together in the Ramaphosa era and in the eras before that.
NESARA and GESARA aim to revolutionize our financial systems, promoting transparency and abolishing corruption worldwide. In South Africa, Lieutenant General Nal'ahle Mkhwanazi is at the forefront, exposing deep-rooted corruption within the SAPS and government. This white hat movement seeks to hold power accountable, aligning with the principles of NESARA GESARA. As we witness these efforts unfold, we must ask ourselves, could this be the turning point for a better South Africa and a step towards global peace? The connections are undeniable, and the potential for change is immense.
Brics is making waves. With Indonesia joining as the 10th full member and 10 other nations like Nigeria and Thailand stepping in as partners, the bloc's appeal is skyrocketing. Over 30 countries are eager to join the ranks. At the recent summit in Rio, leaders tackled de-dollarization and trade reforms, positioning BRICS as a serious alternative to Western dominance. They're even launching BRICS Pay, a blockchain payment system for direct currency exchanges. Plus, they've united against rising trade tariffs. This is a pivotal moment for global economics.
Why isn't this taught in schools? Our entire history and future are influenced by ancient cycles that repeat every 10,000 years. A cosmic clock ticking away through the ages, marking the rise and fall of civilizations. It's called the zodiac cycle. This cycle is divided into astrological ages, each lasting 2160 years. In our current period, we are transitioning from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. This shift brings about profound changes in human consciousness and societal structures. Every 10,000 years, cataclysmic events occur. Floods, ice ages, and meteor impacts reset our world. Many ancient texts and archaeological evidence from sites like Göbekli Tepe point to advanced civilizations existing long before our recorded history. These civilizations knew about these cycles and left us clues. The ancients believed that as we move through these cycles, our collective consciousness evolves. Each age has its own energy and lessons. For instance, the age of Pisces was marked by themes of belief and religion, whereas the age of Aquarius promises innovation, technology, and a new understanding of our universe. Noah's Ark marked the end of an age. Destruction and rebirth are part of this cosmic rhythm, but there is even more. The shift is happening right now, and you can see its effects everywhere. People are waking up, questioning old systems and seeking new truths. The lies that have controlled us for centuries are being exposed. This awakening is part of a larger plan. The universe is showing us how we've been manipulated and what we need to do to reclaim our power. This connection will blow your mind. The biblical Enoch, who lived over 5,000 years ago, had many different names in various parts of the world. He was known as the prophet Idris to the Arabs. Quetzalcoatl to the Olmecs, and Hermes Trismegistus to the Greeks. But how did a man travel across the globe during a time when flight was not invented yet? Enoch had another name. His name to the ancient Egyptians was Thoth. In the emerald tablets of Thoth, he mentions having access to technology called the stargates. These stargates allowed Enoch or Thoth to travel instantaneously between various locations on Earth and even to other worlds. Imagine a doorway that bends space and time, creating a shortcut across the universe. These tablets describe Enoch using these stargates to share wisdom and knowledge with different civilizations. And this is where it gets even crazier. We are only just beginning to understand this in the modern day. It is something we now call quantum entanglement. Enoch's biblical accounts also speak of him traveling to heavenly realms and gaining profound wisdom. Could these journeys have been facilitated by the same stargates? This would also explain how he was known by many names in various cultures.
What? Have you ever seen a car like this in your life? Look at that! What? This is all water vapor because this car runs on hydrogen. We place it here. Ready? Watch this up here.
Thank you for watching. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and share it with your friends. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below with your thoughts or suggestions. Your feedback helps us create even better content. Remember, subscribing keeps you updated on all our latest videos. Let's keep this conversation going. Your voice matters.